Here I am, my friend.
Alright, let's talk about the bad creepypastas.
Well,
Son, come here. I have something to tell you, son.
Yeah? What is it?
I am dying, son. You were my favorite of all 54 of my grandkids. I bestow this wisdom onto you.
Okay. And this is...
Take the phone computer thing you use to look at cartoon porn in your pocket and look up Dylan Skell on Twitter.
I don't look at...
Don't you fucking interrupt me, you dumb little shit.
Now use the $20 I gave you 7 years ago to buy a $20 commission from him. He'll draw detailed portraits of all the characters you want, as well as your OCs. His commissions are open, and you can claim you bought groovy artwork off the interstate.
I think you mean you bought groovy artwork from the internet, Grandpa. Grandpa? Grandpa, are you?
I'm not dead yet. Stupid. His social media accounts are in the description below, including his Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, and Newgrounds.
Who the fuck are you talking to? This artwork is actually kinda cool, actually. Wonder if you can draw my OC, Glimbo1 8000, the boy wonder. I'll follow and message him and see if he can.
Well, your daddy's dead. Let's go to Waffle House.
But Dad, I don't like Waffle House.
Nonsense! You wanna see bums fight?
help me!
So this is a follow-up to a good creepypasta video I made. You don't have to watch the first one to know what this one's about. Essentially, these are stories that I read when I was younger that I thought were bad. Normally, I would have a longer intro. However, since this is a sequel video, I don't really have much else to say. All you gotta know is that I'm going to explain why these are bad. Let's start off with the most overrated edgelord in creepypasta history. Jeff the Killer is one of the funniest stories I've ever read on the internet. All you gotta know is that the only thing scary about Jeff the Killer was the image that was associated with it, because it's pretty unnerving, and I don't think we still have an answer to what the image is, or a concrete answer to where it came from. The story centers around a kid named Jeffrey Woods. He and his brother Lou, which is spelled like Liu Kang for some fucking reason, they move to a new neighborhood, and their mom tells them to like introduce themselves to the neighbors and shit, and everyone in this town is a dickhead for some reason. At the bus stop they're at, Jeff's brother Lou gets bullied or something, and then Jeff kicks their fucking ass. And while Jeff doesn't hear a bell, Lou gets arrested by the cops because he took the blame for Jeff in the fight. And then the funniest part of the story to me is that later on, Jeff attends a bully's birthday party to make amends with him after the bully robbed his brother and got his ass kicked. And then the kids just the kids pull out fucking guns. Yeah, these kids pretty much hold everyone hostage at their own birthday party just to kill some guy that beat their ass. And then they get into a fight and one of the kids smashes vodka all over Jeff's face. Then I think it gets set on fire, let alone there was also bleach thrown on there. Yeah, there's no way Jeff should physically survive this. Then we cut back to the hospital where Jeff has his face mutilated and almost torn off, and he has no eyelids. And you know, his face makes him go manic, even though his brother Lou got released because of the kid's actions. And then Jeff kills his parents for some reason. But the opening to the story, which I forgot to mention at first, is kind of a news report about a homicidal serial killer who breaks into people's houses and hits them with his signature catchphrase, "Go to sleep." You know, because every serial killer has their catchphrase. I mean, Albert Fish's catchphrase, I'm gonna Albert Fish ya. But in the end, Jeff becomes this immortal demigod who's built like a skinny teen. Really, it's really fucking funny. That's what the story is. It's even funnier when you remember this was supposed to be taken 100% seriously. What I'm more concerned about is how he didn't get an infection from carving a smile into his face, which I forgot to mention. He does that with a knife like he's the fucking Joker from The Dark Knight. And also, his eyelids are burned off. How the hell can he still see? Do you know how much dust is going to collect in his eyes? I know this explanation is pretty brief, but I'm pretty sure 95% of you know who Jeff the Fucker is. But all this to describe a kid who's going to break into your house named Jeff the Killer who wants to Jeff the Kill you. I've seen many people on the internet call this story good, and I honestly believe it's because they find it funny rather than scary. Like the Russian underground sleep experiment. That shit is scary. Candle Cove. That shit is scary. Jeff the Killer gives me one of the biggest belly laughs I've had in a while. All he really is a wannabe Joker. Though again, I think my biggest problem with Jeff the Killer is that it makes no goddamn sense. You really have to suspend your disbelief if you think 3 bullies can successfully hold an entire birthday party hostage with a bunch of pea shooters just to track down one kid who beat them in a fight. Either those kids are petty as shit and are really sore losers, or they're just fucking stupid. This is what you're going to expect from this video. They're all going to be terrible. It gets worse after just Jeffrey here. Let's talk about the one that I truly think is the most overrated creepypasta of all time, even if it's not actually as famous as I thought it was. So a while ago, back in the mythical year of 2013, I read this story called Clockwork, Your Time Is Up. But this was the story that introduced me to what a Mary Sue is. Now, a Mary Sue is one of the worst literary character tropes in my personal opinion. It's a character, in this case female, since the name Mary Sue, who is pretty much just the perfect little angel and cannot lose, is all-powerful, doesn't really learn anything, and is always liked by every character in the story. Examples include Captain Marvel in the MCU and Rey in Star Wars. And yes, there do exist male versions of Mary Sue's. They're usually called Gary Stews. An example is Chris Chan and fucking Sonichu the Electric Hedgehog Pokemon. But yeah, Mary Sue is pretty much exactly how to describe the main character of this story, named Natalie. If you thought Jeff was a cringy character, wait till you meet this chick. And continuing with my DC Batman villains comparisons, since I compared Jeff the Killer to the Joker, Natalie in the story is a lot like Harley Quinn, except unlike Harley, she never was a good character that eventually got ruined. But this story centers around Natalie and her dysfunctional ass family, and the story just starts with her drawing gore for no reason, which in my personal opinion is kind of a sign that your child's gonna be a psychopath. Like, why are they just drawing gore all of a sudden? Anyway, she gets bullied at school, and it's probably explained in the way that, oh, they're jealous of her or some shit like that. And I mostly say that because I can't follow the story to save my life. It jumps around all over the place with multiple time skips. Anyways, at some point in the story, it mentions that Jeff's brother or something gets hurt, and she has like a parasocial bond with Jeff. And then the story takes the edgy approach. Not like actual convincing, compelling edge, like 2014 Tumblr edge. Yes, I know the story was made in 2013 and 2014 was a year later. Shut the fuck up! Anyways, the girl has like a mental break or something and just turns into this edgy serial killer. And this story treats it as her character progressing, which no the fuck it's not. They treat her mental break as if she's going Super Saiyan. If anyone has ever had a mental break, you know damn well that is not a Super Saiyan transformation. That means I need fucking help. Anyway, she kills her fucking parents and hits them with the quippy one-liner. As we said earlier, every serial killer's gotta have a catchphrase, and hers is "Your time is up," because she heard that earlier in the story. And just like Jeff, she carves her own cheeks to give herself a smile. Again, how the fuck are they not bleeding out? Also, on the topic of her killing her fully grown adult parents and her family, she's kind of described as like this chubby teenage girl that's not very very athletic. How the hell is she able to overpower a fully grown man, let alone one that's implied to be kind of abusing her at the start of the story? And then at some point she gets hospitalized and restrained, but is able to wake up during anesthesia and just rip out of her bonds immediately. Which, if you just were given anesthesia and you wake up from that, you feel like shit, dude. Anyway, she kills the doctor, says her quippy one-liner like it's a Marvel movie, and then she replaces one of her eyes with a stopwatch.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
Okay, this completely broke all immersion for me because my analytical mind is over here like, how did she live this? I studied the human anatomy a little bit at school, and the fact she was able to cleanly rip out one of her eyes and replace it with a stopwatch, it makes no goddamn sense. It's never implied in the story that she knows how to actually take out an eye with the trained skill of a professional surgeon and just plop in a clock in there, you know? If anything, she's going to become either brain dead or just dead because she damaged her fucking brain by doing this. I think the author just straight up didn't know how many nerves or at least eye stalks exist and they're attached to your brain. How'd they think eyes worked, huh? They're just magic? Yeah, no, if this story was accurate, she wouldn't have been able to kill anyone except by freak accident, and she'd be brain dead and dying of an infection. It's always these edgy serial killers that do the weirdest shit and somehow live it, because I guarantee you, if someone carved in a smile like Jeff did, there is a good chance they're going to die of an infection next week. And again, don't even get me started with the character of Natalie in the story. I've seen paper have more depth to it. If your character's personality is that they get bullied at school and are able to overpower literally full-grown men that are twice their size, get a different character, bro. Your character's not interesting. It's like the one kid on the playground that has the magic belt of invincibility and you can't hurt them in freeze tag. Also, the dialogue in the story when she's killing her family just completely breaks the immersion for me just because it's really funny. The fucking "mother always did like you best, you bitch" fucking gets a belly laugh out of me every time. Same with the fucking spelling on "you're going to hell, brother." Fucking Hulk Hogan, is that you? She also licks the blood off the knife every time she makes a kill. Like, if she doesn't have HIV by now, I don't know what's going to get her. But that's pretty much Clockwork. Your time is up. One of the worst creepypasta stories I've ever fucking read in my life. If you want to recommend this story to anyone, recommend it after you had a couple of good drinks or a smoke so you can at least have something to laugh about. You guys, I have something to confess. It's taken me many years to cope with this knowledge, but for all my life, I've been a Sonic the Hedgehog fan. Oh, right, we like Sonic again. Hey guys, did you know I'm a Sonic the Hedgehog fan? Now, Sonic.exe scared me when I was younger, but it was not the story's doing. It was the fan game. You know, the glorified walking simulator. Mostly because that image. This is genuinely an unnerving piece of art, I won't lie. But the story is something else. Created by the human puss bag JC the Hyena, Sonic.exe is the only creepypasta that is still relevant today. The story is about Tom, a character who has really fucking good split-second memory for no reason. He's a massive Sonic fan and gets a CD from his best friend Kyle, who is dead. He tells him to not play the game, even though he sends him a CD with the game on it for some fucking reason. Kyle, are you stupid? Is that why you died? Anyways, he loads up the game called Sonic.exe. Shocker, huh? Also, quick side tangent, this story has ruined the name EXE for everyone online. EXE does not mean your file's haunted, it just means executable. Like, at that point, you could just name literally any creepypasta, anything ending in a file extension, like Sonic.mkv. Back to the game, he opens it, and the title screen from Sonic 1 opens up, and in a split second, Tom notices a whole cavalcade of differences, such as Sonic is bleeding hyper-realistic blood from his black giant eyes with red pupils over a sea of blood, with Sega 666 in the corner. Ooh, I'm scary. Yeah, the story makes a creepy Sonic by just giving Sonic Ebola and calling it a day. Tom then enters a character select screen that's playing the music when you fight Gygas from Earthbound for some reason. And there are 3 selectable characters: Tails, Knuckles, the Goat, and Dr. Robotnik. He selects Tails, and then the Kefka laugh from Final Fantasy III plays. Also, I forgot to mention the best part of the story is that right before he selects Tails, he talks about how he's never played a hack games before, so he's being cautious because he's a smart gamer. Now, assuming you know the story of Sonic.exe, he plays as Tails. Tails walks up to Sonic, pokes him, then it goes into a game of hide and seek where Sonic rushes down Tails and just drags him through the mud. And then he goes to Knuckles, who's in like Scrap Brain Zone for some fucking reason, and just gets his arms ripped off by Sonic.exe. Although one thing that is very different than the game is that Tom actually takes a break before playing Robotnik's level just to take a nap. He has a nightmare about Knuckles and Tails getting killed by Sonic.exe, and then Sonic.exe walks over to him and he's like, "Oh, you're all fun to play with, kid. You and your friend Kyle, you're gonna fucking die, bruv." Why'd I make him British? Anyways, Tom wakes up, plays his last level, Robotnik falls down the stairs, and then he gets jump scared by the I Am God image. And then the part of the story that kills any tension that was made throughout this entire story is Tom turning around and seeing a fucking bloodied-eyed Sonic plushie on the back of his bed. Who the fuck has a story like that? That's Sonic.exe, a really shitty pasta that rightfully got moved to the Troll Pasta wiki, and this pissed JC the Hyena off. He made this whole Shakespearean war ramble about how he will get the last laugh and that Sonic.exe will not be disgraced like this. Do we care what JC Hyena says? No, because he's a groomer. At the end of the day, all you gotta know is that there's porn out there that's scarier than Sonic.exe. Okay, this is the only creepypasta that I can't really find the original story of, because I actually don't remember what the original story was for this. I just remember the deets. But Tails Doll is an actual character from the game Sonic R, which I'm actually not a big fan of Sonic R. Like, if you're gonna hit me up with a Sonic game around that time, hit me up with Sonic the Fighters. That game was fun. But in the game Sonic R, you can unlock a character named Tails Doll, and it's this dead-eyed fuck that floats all over the place. Yeah, we don't really know the author of the original creepypasta, but Tails Doll kind of became like the creepypasta version of Bloody Mary, and there were multiple ways to summon this bastard. The most common one was to do a tag team race with certain characters, ending with Tails Doll, and apparently it even worked in the Sonic's Gems collection. Also, for every single summon, you need to have 100%ed the game. Then there's a version where you start with Tails Doll on the Tails Resort stage, and you end with Super Sonic. Or you could just go full Bloody Mary route and just start playing Can You Feel the Sunshine in reverse. And then Tails Doll will approach you and ask you if you want to become its servant or die. Yeah, who's fucking intimidated by this thing? I mean, okay, the base design is a bit unnerving, but like with all these stupid ass edits I see, it just makes it less scary. I know, kind of a short entry, but this is pretty much the really bad Bloody Mary of creepypastas. Eyeless Jack is one of those stories that had potential, but it was really rushed and just very unrealistic because the monster itself is actually kinda cool. However, how the story goes about it is really shitty. But anyways, the story is about our main character Mitch, who moved in with his brother Edwin, and then one night he just gets a large gash on his cheek and gets rushed to the hospital. And then the doctor's like, "Oh yeah, that's a pretty bad gash. Hey, by the way, you're missing a kidney." Like, how the fuck do you just miss a kidney and just live that off? Also, the doctor didn't even bother calling the cops. Like, what the fuck? He's just missing a kidney. Anyways, the next night, Mitch goes back to sleep, and then he wakes up in the middle of the night to see the Eyeless Jack over him. So he takes a photo and does nothing else. Like, if you got someone standing over you, you'd probably try to fight them rather than just take a photo of them. But Mitch's character is kind of just boring. So anyways, the end of this short story finds Edwin dead, and while Mitch is looking for the body, he finds it next to his half-eaten kidney. It's a very rushed story that had payoff, but it's just really unrealistic and pretty funny at times. Like the fact that he just stares up, sees the fucker, and just snaps a photo of him rather than trying to shadow box him. But I think the author disowns Eyeless Jack himself, so I'm not gonna shit on it that much. And that's all I gotta say about it. It's just kind of lame. You know, it's kind of weird because the first 4 stories I covered on this list are just genuinely bad, but Laughing Jack's actually somewhat decent. It's just it's got a lot of stuff holding it down. It also has no right being as popular as it is, which is why I kind of think it's not as good. But the story is about some mom and her kid James and his imaginary friend named Laughing Jack just doing average shit on a summer day. Anyways, the mom goes to look for James. James is off doing shit with his imaginary friend. Then the day ends and she has like a nightmare singing kids songs. And this is the part of the story I will give it credit for because it uses the Laughing Jack as an imaginary friend mechanic pretty well, and it kind of slowly builds up to the reveal that yes, Laughing Jack is real and not fake. However, the ending part of the story is what completely kills all tension for me. Aside from the minor nitpick of like the fact that there's a lot of overanalyzation for every action, the story ends with Laughing Jack killing the dog for no fucking reason, and also just tying James up like he's Jesus Christ on the cross and just taking shots at him to torture him. And also, for some reason, the cops can't see Laughing Jack, but the mom can, and so she gets placed in a mental asylum for trying to kill her own son. I think my biggest problem with the story is that it's just way too gory. Gore can be good if used in sparing details or in certain scenes, but very few times does gore work in horror. If it's something like Terrifier, then yeah, that shit works because Terrifier is meant to be a very over-the-top gory slasher flick. I feel like if you really want to get horror across to the audience effectively, try going for more psychological horror, or at least something that builds itself up over time. This story tried to do it, but it just kind of fell flat when it just ends with the kid getting the shit beaten out of him and the mom gets all the blame for it. And I think the dog just getting unnecessarily killed does not help. There's also an origin story for Laughing Jack, which just makes the character even worse. Apparently he's like this real clown that got influenced by his previous owner, who was a psychopath and killed people, so Jack started to kill people. Who the fuck was his previous owner? Dio? Also, I kind of think the fact that he's a clown does not help him because the cliche is kind of played out. But that's just all my opinion on the story. Otherwise, it's pretty decent. It's probably the best story on this list, but I really just wanted to mention it since it does a lot of things right, but commits a lot of cardinal sins. So I was originally going to do Squidward's suicide, but then I remembered a lost episode creepypasta that was even worse than this one. Yep, that's right, we're going to talk about Happy Appy. Who the fuck is Happy Appy? God only knows. Pretty much Happy Appy is a Nickelodeon show that's like creepy or some shit, and it's about a claymation apple getting a stick for a colonoscopy and helping kids. And each time an episode plays, it gets more demented as it goes on, yada yada yada. You know what's gonna happen. Like, it starts off with him helping people on the beach and then helping kids, and then he drives a van to help kids. Saying that out loud did not feel good. And then he finds a band-aid and slaps it over a kid's boo-boo. And then one episode he just stares into the soul of the viewer and then takes a kid behind a bush and stabs them to death or some shit. And then he teleports behind one of the kids that says nothing personnel and then fucking kills them. And then in one episode, the episode before this, I believe, he tells the audience that the Japanese tsunami of 2011 is happening and he's going to help the government of Japan for some fucking reason. And then he stares through the audience souls in a couple more episodes. Then he assaults a kid in the van for some reason. The van was important after all. Fuck, Appy's a pedophile. And then the part of the story that killed all immersion for me was in like the 8th episode when he's talking about like plants and frogs and shit. And then there's smoke and it just it fucking shows 9/11 footage. What the fuck is there 9/11 footage? What does this have to do with anything? And he's fucking describing 9/11 to what? I'm laughing so hard is not because it's 9/11. No, it's because this is still taken 100% seriously. That's all I really gotta say for Happy Appy. I just wanted to include it because it's so fucking stupid. If anything, unironically includes 9/11 in it to get a genuine reaction and shock out of people, then it's automatically going to be on the shit list. Anyways, we talked about really terrible creepypastas in a joking light. However, this is the only story on this list that unironically pisses me the fuck off. Like, you saw back there with the 9/11 bit, I kind of have a little bit of an edgy sense of humor. But here, I'm playing this completely straight because it covers really horrible subjects. Okay, this is a bit of a content warning. I'm going to be talking about rape, sexual assault, and pedophilia, and I'm not censoring the words. If you don't like that, I do not blame you if you want to leave right now. I'll see you in the next video, and I'm sorry I had to go so soon. To anyone else that's sticking around, let me tell you why you should never use rape as a shocking subject. Rape is a very touchy subject, and it is not something that should ever be used for straight shock value. The implementation of rape as a plot device can be used if it is done respectfully and well. However, there are very few examples of it being done well, and most of the time you'll be seeing it added in as a very bad element. This is one of those examples because she gets raped in the story and it gets brushed away like it was a bad dream, and it is very insulting to anyone who's actually been raped. The story just has her get raped for shock value and then murdered immediately after. She tells her mom she's been raped, the mom sweeps it up, and Uncle Johnny gets really no punishment. It's more or less here to bait sympathy for the character, and then she becomes a ghost at the end of the story. Again, it is not handled really well, like the child getting raped and murdered. They added it just for shock value, and it is really disgusting. Another part that actually pisses me off is seeing the amount of art and appreciation for the story and character on the internet. Like, if I ever see fan art of someone like Jeff the Killer, then it doesn't bother me at all because I know the story he's from, I know it's stupid, and it doesn't really piss me off. I just think it's funny. With this one, and with how poorly used the themes are, just seeing the internet glorify a rape victim because she looks cute is just really fucking disgusting. Like, they're just glorifying the story, all the events that happen, just using it as a way to show off, oh, look how cute the main character of the story is. And in the end, she becomes a ghost that just haunts people for no reason. Like, there's no build up to it. I really don't want to joke about this story because, like, I never will think rape is funny. I never will. Again, may have an edgier sense of humor, but I know when to take something completely straight. That's the end of this video. I know the ending is a bit more serious and it was kind of depressing, but overall, a lot of these stories are just bad and inoffensive at the end of the day. I don't want anyone going out of their way to harass anyone that made any of these stories, even if it is JC the Hyena. And I know I kind of rushed over some of these, but that's just because there's not a whole lot to talk about, unlike something like Psychosis. I probably won't link the stories to this one just because I don't recommend reading any of them. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me today. Go tell your mother to check if the pasta is expired in your drawer. It may be spooky. Fuck, I need a better outro.